Going on, everyone? We are here for week 8 of the Porsche Cup Fixed track guide series. This week we are at Jerez Moto Layout, so should be an interesting little layout. So the only difference between the Grand Prix version and the Moto Layout is that there's no chicane in the sort of last sector. Sort of as you come out of the double right-hander, there's a little tiny chicane that you take in the Grand Prix that you don't have to take, so it's a more of a sort of flat sort of style of corner on the Moto Layout. So it should be quite a fun little track in this car. So as always, hope your racing's been going well. Thank you to everybody that's been watching the videos, liking, subscribing, and yeah, let's get into it. Jerez in the Porsche Cup. Alright guys, so now we're going to break down the lap. So as you're coming down into turn 1, you want to be as close to the left hand side as possible. I actually dropped 2 tyres over the back of the curb. I'm braking just at the start of the curb. So right here, there's actually a white line just before it, which is my official marker in a race run. When it's qualifying, I try to just push it that extra couple of feet. So 5th gear, back to 2nd gear here. You can run 3rd. I just feel like the rotation of the car is better in 2nd. It just gives the car a little bit more turn, and then you're able to sort of manage the car a little bit nicer. So, right over the back of the curb. Now, you're turning quite early here because you want to get up on the curb on the inside to really rotate. So, I'm turning in at about this point here. So, about 3 blue squares from the end of the curb. And then from that point there, 2nd gear, car's going to rotate in. As long as I'm sort of in line with the orange bit in the middle of the phase of the entry, I'm happy, because then from that point there, I turn the car, I clip the apex as I'm in line with the tower, straight in front, the red and white one. And then I sort of wrap the car around the curb a little tiny bit, and then carry all that speed off. Car's going to drop over the back of the curb, use all the track, up to 3rd, then brake just past the sign. So there's some orange barriers right there on the inside. So I'm using the first orange barrier as my brake marker into the next corner. 3rd gear, back to 2nd gear. This one's a little bit unique as well. I kind of turn the car in quite early here, and then I get the car to sit up on the curb the whole way through the corner. So as I turn the car in, I clip it just as the green bit starts, or just past it. And then I want to wrap the car the whole way around, and then as soon as I get in line with that orange barrier, that's when I start to collect the throttle and pick it up. Now, the car's going to slide off the corner, and it's going to end up in about this position here, which is great because we can actually use quite a bit of this runoff area on the left-hand side to carry through. So as you come through here, You're in second, grab third gear, and I use 2 tyres over that whole blue thing, and I make sure that as I come back on, I run the left-hand side tyres between the white bit and the grass in that little blue area. That's like sort of my trajectory. And then I know from there I can let the car track right out to the edge of the road. You're in fourth gear, you turn in at the end of the curb on the right-hand side here. And then as you turn the car in, you lift off the throttle just to get the car to help rotate, stay in fourth, but you want to make sure that you get that car to this point here. So I want to make sure the car is over the curb, and you can touch this little blue bit behind, but be very careful. It does seem to be a little bit hit and miss with actually over rotating the car too quickly, and I've found a couple of times that if you use even a slight bit too much, the car actually chases the front, the rear of the car chases the front into the corner, and then you're facing the other way. So I sort of make sure that for my apex, I'm looking at the flag marshal hut directly in front of me, and then from there I know I can carry all that speed out, still in fourth gear, let the car run right over the back of the curb, then start heading back towards the left-hand side in fifth gear. Now, this one's a bit unique. So you're looking for the escape road right there on the right-hand side. So I'll just pull forward a bit and show you exactly where it is with the side camera. So right there. So we're using that escape road as our brake marker for this corner. Now, it's going to seem really unnatural, but I want you to drive the car deeper in here than you would think to. Fifth gear, back to third gear. Now, as you're running the car in, I don't even start to turn the car until I get to the end of this blue bitumen part behind the curb. So once I get to this point here, I start to turn the car at the corner. You want to turn the car in late, because if you actually notice, the apex is really strange. Like, it baits you in early to think that you've got to go early, but you actually don't want to hit the apex till much higher further around the corner. So by driving it in later, you're rotating later, which means you're actually not going to get close to the apex until much further up the hill. And then, so as you're coming around, you sort of sit in this point here, and then this is where I want to start to get near the curb. So you got the orange tyres and the flag marshal hut. I start to get the car to the curb here, but I'm still not fully committed on the throttle until I get to this next point here. So see how the track continues to burn around? Once I get in line with the light pole, and I've got the car on that apex, then I pick the throttle up nice and aggressive. The car's going to slide all the way, because you'll see it's still quite tight on the exit. Use all the track. As long as you keep 2 tyres inside that white line, you're fine on the right hand side. Pound up through the gears. Now I hold 5th gear down here. I just feel like it's not worth the hassle going to 6, but at the same time, I haven't had any cars in front of me and I'm not drafting. I feel like 5th gear is fine when you're by yourself and you've got no one around. I feel like if you've got traffic, you may need to pull 6 just from the aero draft and just being close to somebody behind. So, and then for brake marker, it's the 100's my reference, but I'm about a car length before. So I'm about this point here, 2 tyres on the curb, 5th gear, back to 2nd gear, all the way down. So as you come down, turning point wise, it's slightly just before the end of the blue painted bit. So about 4 blue squares from the end. So about this point here is where I start to turn the car at the corner. So I turn the car in, and then I want to hit the apex right at the end of the green sausage part of the curb. So right at this point here on the inside. And then from that point there, you should be able to pick the throttle up, carry the speed out. The car's going to track. Now, you can go to the edge of the road. I feel like that little bit extra is probably not worth the time. I try and set myself up more so I'm about 3-4 foot from the curb. And that's just because I know I'm going to have to move right back to the right-hand side to attack the next corner. And the next corner is a lot more high speed and flowing, so I feel like it's better to sacrifice a little bit on exit here to make sure the next part is really good. So, and I'm not sacrificing a lot, it's literally just a couple of feet. I don't want to get on that curb because I just feel like it's too far across. So then I start running back across. Now this one's a bit unique because it feels like you should be flat, but you have to lift. So I lift just at the start of this little patch of blue stuff by the escape road. Slight lift, get the car to rotate in. You got to get the car right up on the curb. And I try and hit it when I'm in line with the blue pole from the sort of over the racetrack banner on the other side of the wall. And then from that point there, I let the car run out. I use all the track up here. So you'll be fourth gear through here. So here's a bit unique. So I lift just before the end of the tyre wall on the left-hand side over here. So it's about the second patch of blue bundles before the end of the wall, if that makes sense. And it's a lift. Sometimes a tap of the brake just to get the nose to sort of comprehend with where you're putting the car. Fourth gear, turn in at that point as well. So as soon as you lift, you start to turn the car because you need to carry that speed through. As you're running through, you want to make sure that you get to the apex right when you're in line with the orange tyre walls and the blue back of the curb starts. From that point there, the car's going to take off. You're going to slide. Now this one's the tricky one because the car does tend to want to over-rotate a lot here just from the sheer amount of load you're putting through and the sheer amount of corner speed you're trying to carry. So, and then you let the car track out. I don't use the curb, but I get as close to the curb as possible. And then I start heading back towards the orange wall directly in the distance. And then I brake, still in fourth gear, I brake just before this little patch of blue and white concrete behind the curb, so that further part out. I brake there, fourth gear, back to second gear, so I go third, and then I go back to second just before I turn in. So right at this point here, I go back to second, and I turn in 4 blue squares from the end of the curb, turn the car in, car's going to rotate in. Once you're in line with the orange tyre walls again, let the car track out wide. Use all the curb at the back. Stay in second here. You're going to crack the limiter, but I just find it's a little bit nicer to drive, and then I sort of short shift to third on the exit. So turn in right here at this point just before the end of the curb. So 3 blue squares again. Turn the car in at the corner. You can use a tiny little bit of this green curb if you must. It does upset the balance slightly, but you can actually carry quite a bit of speed through there. And then from that point there, straighten the car up, run it down, up to third, to the short shift, up to fourth. Now this one's a lift, but you'll need to tap the brake just to get the car to sort of balance in, otherwise you're going to push wide and get a bit of understeer and end up in the sand. So I turn in quite early here, so I'm turning in just before the start of the cones on the right hand side. So end of the curb here is another good reference point. So turn the car in at the corner. But you don't want to apex too early. You kind of want to apex when you're in line with the orange tyre wall out in the distance there. Them tyre walls are fantastic for just knowing where to place the car. The car's going to track all the way out to the edge of the road. And then same here, turn into the end of the curb here, right before the blue concrete starts. And then you want to clip the curb as much as possible without hitting the blue bit. The car's going to slide right out to the edge of the road. Still in fourth gear through here. You're looking for the 100 metre board. There's a line just there. You can also use the white line across the track just a little bit further at like 97 metres roughly. From this point here, back to second gear. Stay nice and close to the right hand curb as you're entering. Now, I take quite a unique line in here. I sort of drive past the corner slightly, and then I start to turn when I'm sort of in line with the escape road here, straight in front of us, and then I start to apex the car. So, and then you'll see that I sort of getting to nearly just past the orange wall. So the orange wall is just nearly out of my middle monitor. And then from that point there, I'm able to pick the throttle up, let the car run out to the edge of the road, use all the track. And there you go, guys. That is your walkthrough lap of Jerez in the Porsche Cup for Week 8's Fixed Track Guide Series. I hope this, guys, has helped you heaps. Good luck for this week's racing, and we will see you next week for Week 9. Thanks, guys.